The deadliest royal family in history. The sky was burning. Lightning cracked through the clouds, and thunder shook the earth like the roar of an ancient beast. The battlefield was covered with fire, smoke, and silence. Thousands of soldiers lay lifeless on the ground, their armor broken, their swords forgotten. Among the ruins of fallen kingdoms stood one man, alone, fearless, unstoppable. His hands were stained with blood, his eyes were cold like steel, and in his grip was a golden crown taken from the corpse of a defeated king. Slowly, he raised the crown. When he placed it on his head, the world changed forever. His name was Dravan. He was not born into royalty, he was born into suffering. As a child, he watched armies burn his village and slaughter his people while kings celebrated in distant palaces. He learned that justice was a lie and mercy was weakness. While other children dreamed of peace, Dravan dreamed of power. Years later, he returned, not as a victim, but as a storm. With an army of ruthless warriors, he marched toward the strongest kingdom in the land. The war was brutal. Palace walls collapsed, towers burned, and screams echoed through golden halls. The old royal family tried to escape, but Dravan showed no mercy. Princes were executed, queens were dragged from their chambers, and a dynasty that had ruled for centuries disappeared in a single night. When the sun rose, Dravan sat on the throne, not as a king, but as a nightmare. Under his rule, fear became law. Cities that resisted were burned to ashes. Anyone who questioned the crown vanished without a trace. People stopped speaking, stopped dreaming, stopped trusting each other. Silence became survival. But Dravan believed his greatest creation was not his empire, it was his bloodline. He had 3 sons, and he did not raise them as princes, he raised them as weapons. From childhood, they were taught to fight, to compete, and to distrust everyone, even each other. Love was forbidden in the palace. Compassion was considered weakness. Dravan taught them one rule above all others. A crown is protected only by blood. As the brothers grew older, rivalry replaced brotherhood. Behind their smiles were hidden ambitions. Everyone in the kingdom knew that the day Dravan died, the palace would turn into a battlefield. And that day came. When Dravan died, the palace did not mourn. It exploded. Poison was mixed in golden cups. Assassins walked through royal corridors. Armies gathered in silence. One night, the palace turned into a war zone. Swords clashed in marble halls, flames rose from palace towers, and brother killed brother without hesitation. The walls heard screams that night. By morning, only one brother remained alive. He stood alone in a palace filled with blood. He became king, but his throne was cursed. To secure his power, he married Seraphine, a woman as beautiful as she was merciless. Soon, people began calling her the Queen of Fear. She believed love made rulers weak, and fear made them eternal. Under her influence, the kingdom descended into darkness. Secret prisons were built beneath the palace. Nobles who questioned the crown disappeared. Rebels were tortured publicly. The palace was no longer a home, it was a trap. From this dark palace was born a prince who would surpass all cruelty before him. His name was Kaler. From childhood, he saw violence, betrayal, and power. When he became king, he transformed the kingdom into a machine of war. He did not wait for enemies, he created them. His armies marched across continents, burning cities and destroying kingdoms. Villages vanished, castles collapsed, rivers turned red with blood. For Kaler, peace was weakness, war was destiny. The world began to burn. People across distant lands feared the name of the royal family. They were no longer rulers, they were monsters wearing crowns. But the greatest danger was not outside the palace, it was inside. Inside the palace, betrayal became tradition. Kings stopped trusting queens, princes feared their own brothers. Poisoned cups became common. Assassins moved freely through royal corridors. Love disappeared, trust died. Only ambition remained. The royal family slowly destroyed itself. And while the palace collapsed from within, something changed outside its walls. The people awakened. After centuries of suffering, farmers, soldiers, slaves, and nobles united. For the first time, fear turned into courage. One night, they surrounded the royal palace with torches and weapons. The gates were broken. Flames spread through the halls. The dynasty that ruled with terror for generations began to collapse in a single night. In the burning throne room, the last king stood alone. His crown slipped from his head. As he watched his palace burn and his empire fall, he finally understood the truth. He had conquered the world, but he had lost his soul. By morning, the deadliest royal family in history was gone. Only ruins remained. Yet their story did not die. It became a warning whispered through generations. And as Sukarno wrote in the final words of history, some royal families are remembered for their glory, but the deadliest ones are remembered for their blood.